fine. I don't know too much about Kanon. I think he does videos about Path of Exiles. I think. Okay, so let me see.
Today, I'm bringing you an exclusive interview with the upcoming Riot MMORPG director,
I wanted to do that.
Greg Street, also known as Ghostcrawler.
I know Ghostcrawler.
This is a small segment from a 2-hour interview that I had with Greg. So if you want to watch the full interview, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified when it drops. Also, I'm streaming live on Twitch 5 to 6 days a week, so visit me there. It's the best way to connect with me personally. And let's begin.
Oh, it's Lost Ark now. I see.
Right. I do want to talk to you about monetization, but before I ask that question, what do you think separates games like WoW and Final Fantasy 14 from,
so that's
the
like
others that just don't make it? Like, what is it about them? I mean, is it just the budget? Is it the creative design that's behind it? Is it a team that's running it? I mean, it could be multiple things, but it just...
Let me channel... Hold on. Let me channel my inner Asmongold. I'll pause every now and then. I assume, is he actually diving straight into the question, or is he actually like just editing the hard-hitting questions first? Because it's the passion. It's the passion behind the MMO. Like, that's a simple answer. If the devs like, if the devs like their own game, they know what kind of content to make for the game. If the devs play their own game, they can see what's happening. That's the simplest answer. You need to make a game that's fun enough for the devs themselves to play.
Oh, there's plenty of good ideas, and there's plenty of... I'm sure every MMO that comes out, it's like, hey, we feel like we can do this better.
Also, super quickly, another thing is, the fun fact about MMOs is that people like MMOs that are not focusing on the MMO. They like MMORPGs that are RPGs where you can just see other people. That's kind of the modern standard for MMOs these days. Because most people like to play MMOs solo and then group up randomly with other people for, other content, but you don't want to make like a full raid team anymore where you are committed to like massive raid times anymore.
I love the fact that when we talked earlier, you're talking about, hey, I think one of the things that Riot does very well is they look at games like Dota and think, hey, maybe we could do this better by doing this and this.
I mean, Riot has always done that.
They've had solid success with that.
Again, super quick pause. Riot has been amazing at taking other games and making them better.
I'm sure that's the mindset
always.
With a lot of MMO developers, but they still just don't make it. Like,
no, Riot is different.
On that.
Yeah, I think you're right that budget is part of it. Like, again, thinking of raiding, it's a spectacle. And in Final Fantasy, when a boss comes down and like maybe the guitar kicks in or something, like they don't mind making custom music for boss fights and stuff like that. Like it is something amazing to see. And you can make a really, really fun encounter that's pretty much just like a big ogre dude hitting you, but it's just not the same epic scale. It's not the sense of like,
I need to try.
This is something. But yeah, budget's part of it. I also think the bigger games and maybe the ones with the bigger budget are just better at serving a broader audience. So say you make an MMO and you're like, hey, this MMO is PvP only because we think we can just make a better game if it's PvP. Well, you could probably guess there are going to be players that are like, I'm out. That's not me. Final Fantasy has a great like crafting game. It has a great social game. It lets you decorate your houses. So it serves players a lot of really different motivations.
Right. I don't know if you can answer this, but do you feel comfortable with the budget that you have?
Oh, come on. It's small indie company.
That's actually a really interesting question. I think I can answer it. One of the nice things about Riot is
come on.
We're not going to run out of money, right? I mean, we're not going to have a publisher that's like, hey, if you got to ship by Christmas or we're
no, they don't do that. No, that's not right.
Riot will cancel this game if the game isn't good enough. They're not going to cancel.
And you know where's the proof? You know where's the proof? Project F. We know this is how Riot functions. We know that like if Riot is like, hey, that game not good enough, they will go silent. And they will not tell you anything until the moment they have something solid. Because Project L got massive updates. Riot Forge is on their 4th game revealed. Project F disappeared. Absolutely gone.
The game
and see, there are people who don't even know what Project F is. God damn it.
Too expensive. And those go hand in hand. We could make a very expensive bad game, and then I would get fired.
Just super quickly, again, I hate pausing, but I assume, knowing how Riot works, you know, I've been with Riot Games for... They've had their 10th anniversary, but really, you know, League has been in beta for like almost 2 years, but I've been part of the first beta year even. I've been with Riot Games for a long while, and I can tell you that's exactly how they work. Project F was the top-down view, kind of like Diablo. Should I really... Riot Project F. Is there the footage? I even made a video on that. I made a... Like, Project F was the game I was excited about the most. And then it disappeared. Hold on. Let me just super quickly, just for context. This is Project F. It's this game. It's the top-down Diablo-styled dungeon crawler. It never... It's because... see, like, I know how Riot works. It's most likely because either they were going for a Diablo game style, and then, you know, Diablo 3... No, not 3. Like, you know, Diablo Immortal kind of was scrolling out, and Riot recognized that people are not that excited about Diablo games anymore because Torchlight also kind of like died down. And so maybe they were trying to reshape the game from like a traditional Diablo dungeon crawler into more like an adventure game. More like what I would expect from Song of Nunu and stuff like that. So, you know, I assume the reason why they've been silent on Project F is because they had to scrap the main idea and they had to start over with what they really want the game to be in a new way. So yes, to chip in my view on what we just heard, yes, that's exactly how Riot operates. If they recognize that a game is not good, they delay it, they go silent, and they come back when they are confident.
Right.
And to be fair, so far, every single Riot game is good. Every single goddamn one. And I don't want to hear your Valorants. I don't want to hear your Legends of Runeterras. Every single goddamn game is amazing. And that's because they actually care about the games they make.
You could make a less expensive game that
League is bad. Yeah, I know.
Really captures hearts and minds.
They have to have one bad.
It's not
game.
A blank check, right? Like I have to prove, and the team has to prove that whatever Riot is putting into it is worth it. Because you know, they could spend the money somewhere else. They could make a different game. They could double down on Valorant or something. So it's definitely not a blank check, but it's also not like we're not a startup where, oh gosh, we're out of money. What are we going to do? You know, I can always go back and ask for more. Whether or not I get more is going to depend a lot on what they think. You know, how does the game look? What do playtesters say? How are we doing? You know, about hitting our milestones.
By the way, another great example of this. I'm pausing again. Another great example of this is Arcane. If you watch the Arcane documentary, you know that it was really 2 writers who came to the big guys at Riot and they were like, hey, can we have some money for a project? And then they got money. They put together some prototypes. We saw the brilliant animation with the prototype animation with Jace and Vi fighting. And they came back to the higher ups and they were like, all right, have a bit more money. You convinced us. And that's exactly what's happening here. You make a prototype that's fun and that's good. And based on that, you get more funding to just like make the product better because at that point you are confident in what you're making.
So that is how, I mean, in the very simplest sense, you can think of it as you get some money. If you spend it well, they're going to give you more. If you don't spend it well, you probably
exactly what I just said.
Rather than shipping the bad game, it would just get
That's awesome. But I think that distinction I think is massive. Not only from your perspective, but especially from the consumer's perspective. Like just knowing that, hey, this MMO that's coming out, it's like money isn't the issue. They'll cancel it if it's not good. So like even that, like just that notion, absolutely. It's like if this MMO were to be canceled, I would be devastated. I'd be really disappointed. I think everyone in the MMO world would be, the MMO community would be pretty devastated that it got canceled.
If the Riot MMO is canceled, I think the MMO genre is down. I think the Riot MMO is the last freaking fighter in this game. It's like the last one who's like, if the MMO genre can work, Riot is the only one who can pull it off at this point. Because yeah, Final Fantasy is gonna hold, just like WoW. WoW is gonna hold. Both games are gonna just like glide with their dedicated players. But if there is a new MMO that wants to compete with them, it's Riot or no one. There is Ashes of Creation, but there were some iffy. Actually, Ashes of Creation is not too bad, because Ashes of Creation is kind of the same idea where they don't care about investors, they don't care about anything like that. It's a passion project, and it's slow, but they are coming. And yeah, you know, Amazon, they came out, they were like, we got money, bam, MMO. Well, it didn't work. Because, you know, they had the funds. I don't know if they had the passion, really. I mean, not to, you know, the devs did amazing job. But it feels like the entire idea was motivated by money. And that's not how you start a game, especially an MMO.
But at the same token, I think it would bring another level of respect. Would be like, hey man, at the end of the day, it wasn't a money thing. It just wasn't good enough. They just maybe they'll revisit it later. You know, like I would have a lot of respect for a company that you know would cancel a game because of that, rather than the actual money that's going into it. That's really, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. The disappointment from players, and I understand there'd be disappointment. I'd be disappointed. But that's coming from, oh, I had such high hopes for this game, and I'm disappointed that it didn't get there.
Yeah,
and
right.
They don't want a bad game. They don't want us to like ship the game no matter what.
That would still be better than a bad game.
You know, we can't deliver a good game. What are we doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things that the game does need to do is it needs to generate revenue. Okay, so I'd love to get your thoughts on the differences between, from your perspective as the guy that needs to generate the revenue. Love to hear your thoughts on a sub-based model versus a free-to-play model.
So, super quickly before he says that, I know exactly what he's gonna say. I know exactly what he's gonna say. Riot games have always been free to play. Always have been free to play. If you go back to the Project L announcements and like Project L details, they were like, this is how Riot operates. Riot operates on free to play models, and that's what the Project L said. So the same thing is gonna be for the MMO. They are gonna release skins. I actually wanted to make a video about this. I want to make a video where I talk about the real reason why the Riot MMO is set up for success. The real reason why the Riot MMO is set up for success is because they are a free-to-play model, and all they need to do in the MMO is sell skins. You know why it works? Because the skins are already set up in League of Legends. You know what's gonna happen if in the MMO they are gonna release project skins from a skin line that's already beloved in League? And what about Star Guardian skins in the MMO? You know, the real reason the Riot MMO is set up for success is because people already like the monetization in League. I mean, you know what I mean when I say like. People like the skins in League. So what Riot needs to do is take the visual design from League, which people like, and you take it and you take it to the MMO. The reason why this is so amazing is because throughout the last 10 years, as Riot was releasing skins, they got data on what people like and what they don't like. So now they can take their database of skins and give the MMO what people like. And I feel like no one freaking mentioned this. Am I the crazy guy? Am I like digging too much into this? Because I feel like the moment they release skin lines from League which people love and they put them in the MMO, they guarantee revenue. Maybe I'm just crazy.
You know, the truth is they're both viable. What you generally get in a sub-based model is fewer players, because fewer players can afford it, but are a very steady revenue stream.
Yes.
So you might say, I would rather 1 million players who pay me $15 a month regularly than 5 million players who sometimes pay and sometimes don't.
I think the whales
that's just the economics of it.
Too powerful.
Generally, if you want to go free to play, it's because you think you can have a lot of players and you'll be okay even if they don't individually spend a lot of money. You'll have a lot of players who spend nothing. You'll have some players who spend more, but on average, you're assuming they're not going to pay that much.
I think it's
and you
less,
make up for it with size.
Less than 10%.
You see that a lot of mobile games, not just mobile MMOs, but mobile games in general, assume that they don't have very long a lifespan, so they need to like make money right away, you know, big audience right away, because then people are gonna drop them and move on to the next thing. It's also interesting that in China, a little less so Korea, but still more so I think than in the West, the notion of pay for power is not as, you know, it's almost repulsive to a lot of Western players, because they're like, it comes to them as like, well, that's not fair. Like, why should that person
but in
have
China
better gear
they're
than me when
fine.
they just spent money on it?
Yeah.
But at least to a Chinese mindset, sometimes they're thinking, well, I don't want to spend a lot of time grinding to get this item. Why can't I just pay you to get it right away and get to the good stuff? Maybe I just want to raid. Let me skip to the good stuff. Particularly, this was more true in both Korea and China when a lot of gamers had to play it at PC bongs or PC cafes, because then they're literally paying for the hour. So rather than paying per hour to get 100 hours to get a sword, let me just buy the sword and skip all that stuff. So we're not going to do pay to win. We're not going to do pay to power. I'm pretty confident saying that.
Obviously.
The business
that's a big one.
But that's obvious.
Said that, or a lot of players assume it's just not Riot's.
That's obvious.
We really want players to feel like they're welcome back in the game at any time. And yeah, if life is rough right now and you're between jobs, or you just can't, you can't pay for the subscription, I'd rather them not churn out rather than be able to keep playing. So
that's how Riot works.
Riot has traditionally liked free to play with purely cosmetic purchases, but again,
is that enough though? Because an MMO, again, I'm very ignorant to the game development and the budget side of things when it comes to MMO, but I would imagine that it's very expensive to maintain and run and create an MMORPG. Is it feasible? Is it feasible?
I absolutely understand the question, but you need to realize the amount, the cost of League itself, I think it's gonna be like half of an MMO. I feel like an MMO is gonna be double the cost of League, because you need to realize there are so many. Yeah, nice pause. He looks like he's gonna run away. There are so many games of League happening at the same time, and you have a lot of freaking people maintaining League itself. Even though it may not seem like that, when it comes to an MMO, the cost of an MMO is more of you make new models for the new NPCs. League does the same thing with a whole bunch of skins. But in the MMO, you also need quest design. You need narrative team for that, and you need the coding that's constantly adding in new stuff. However, the new stuff is usually in a framework where they make a framework at the very beginning, and then all the quests and all the new abilities from bosses and stuff like that, you kind of make them in the editor, which you make at the beginning when you are making the game. So that's not really a massive cost. It works in the same exact way as Riot making a new champion. They make a new champion using tools which they made at the very beginning. So the cost of League and an MMO is not that massively different. And the fact is, I would still say that the MMO is probably, let's say, twice League. But the thing is, League has been running on skins alone for 10 years, and they are generating an insane amount of money. So the MMO, if you do the numbers, the MMO should be totally fine with only skins. However, there is one thing that needs to be mentioned. In League, you are buying a skin for each champion. In the MMO, maybe you buy a mount, maybe you buy a nice piece of armor, or like, a nice set, or like nice transmog. And then what? Yeah, for like most people are gonna just like keep the nicest armor, and that's it. In League, at least you can have ults, but assuming that the armor is kind of like bound to the entire account, maybe ults have different kinds of armor, yeah, sure. But at least when it comes to the whales, you bet there are gonna be people who are gonna buy every single goddamn skin for your character in this game. So I still think that the whales are gonna easily carry the game.
The most expensive kind of game to make.
Right? I would think so. Is it feasible to have
other thing close is like huge open world,
Right.
Horizon Zero Dawn, Assassin's Creed, Red Dead Redemption style. Those are also very expensive, but an MMO needs everything. It needs matchmaking. It needs a chat system. It needs
that's from the
gear system. It just every system you can imagine.
Gear, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, they are very expensive.
Like
to build.
I hope I don't sound like I'm kind of like downplaying this. By the way, like I'm just saying that League can be compared to an MMO if you dig into the way the game is structured. But absolutely, there and MMOs need a lot more. That's why I said double before.
And if it's a super content-heavy game, they're also very expensive to run.
Absolutely.
If it's a more PvP-based game or a more sandbox game, it's less expensive to run because players are providing a lot of the content.
Yep.
Right, absolutely. Is it feasible for a large-scale MMO, like a big-budget MMO, to sustain with a free-to-play model that just monetizes off of cosmetics?
Yes.
Honestly, because like for me,
yes,
I'm thinking like
it is possible.
No. Like
it is. No,
for
it
me,
is.
Like technically, theoretically, yes. Obviously, if everyone is buying these costumes and stuff, sure. I know for a fact it would be. But like honestly, like realistically, I feel like the answer to that is no. What would you say?
No, we've done the math, and I think there is a world that works out. Like
really,
Okay, so
players.
That was the best answer because he was like, "We did the calculations, and according to our calculations, there is the possibility that we can do it." What he actually meant to say, yes. Yes, League has done that. There is a lot of money in this, but he can't say that because that would sound bad. But that's. Then again, I don't want to be putting words into his mouth. He didn't say that. That's kind of what I assume. He maybe, he just wanted to avoid saying the fact that, yes, there is still a lot of money in an MMO with only skins.
Who are willing to pay enough on cosmetics to fund a really big game.
Really? Like how often would you expect in order for that to work? How often would you expect to have to like release new cosmetics? Because obviously you can't release one new cosmetic a year to be able right. Like no one's gonna buy right. That's not enough money.
And I also know from experience that players resent when they feel like you're spending too much development effort on cosmetics.
Yes.
Like, to look at League of Legends, for example, if we stopped making champions and just kept making skins, at some point players are like, well, this kind of sucks. You're only focused on the money-making side of the game.
Very true.
You need to do both. You need to make sure the game balance is good. You need to update everything that you can in order for players to feel good about it. So, again, we don't even know for sure exactly what our business model is going to be, but done the math enough to convince myself that if we said, can you launch a game with just cosmetics? Probably you can.
Okay, interesting. So obviously you just stated as far as the Riot MMO goes, there's no confirmation, there's none of that. But for you personally, what do you as a gamer, what do you personally prefer? Do you personally prefer to play a sub-to-play game or a free-to-play game that has in cash shop?
You can do both.
Yeah, the one thing that bothers me about a sub is kind of the guilt of I'm paying for this game and I'm not playing it right now. And so
that's an interesting
concept. I came back and played the last expansion, and then when I stopped playing, I felt like, well, the right thing to do is to cancel my subscription.
Right.
But then if I want to jump in and play one night, well, am I going to start my subscription up again? There's a little more friction there to really.
I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of like not really being interested in WoW, but I can still keep the sub because I'm like, what if I just want to log in and ride my mount around the main capital city and realize there's no content? What if I just want to do nothing?
Fitting in how I play. Whereas, like, if I want to play Valorant, I'll just pick up Valorant. If I want to put Valorant down for 6 months and pick it up again, great, I'll do that. There are battle passes and things like that can be subscription-like. But overall, I think that's the one flaw in the subscription model is, as a player, you feel like the right thing to do is to turn it on and off all the time.
Yeah,
right.
Kind of a habit.
Right. What do you think about the games that are free to play but have like a subscription option where you get bonus stuff like extra loot
Lost Ark has
drop
that
percentage?
Does Final Fantasy have that?
A lot of games do that. Like BDO does it. Even Lost Ark does it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
What do you think about that model?
I don't know about
I
Final
think
Fantasy.
as a player, I think that's pretty cool because it gives you the option to kind of pay how you want. If you're like, hey, I'm not ready to commit money to this game, awesome. But if you're like, no, I'm in, I know I'm going to spend lots and lots of hours in this game. I don't mind,
they do have that.
spending a little more for a better experience. I think that's pretty cool. It is, again, like I said before, with
no power,
the pay for power, it's a slippery slope, and you can easily turn off players
right.
if you're too heavy-handed with that.
Oh, full interview. Okay, so it was these. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So we kind of got the obvious things from this that I expected, which is like you can't go into details, but he basically said the obvious. We got the same info from Project L. We know that Riot is a free-to-play company. That's how they make games. That's also where the future of games are. Every single massive game that became massive is because it became massive because it's open to players. And so that's exactly what I'm expecting. I didn't learn, anything new because I know how Riot works. So, but yeah, I want to go for an interview as well. God damn it. Gosh darn it, Ghostcrawler. But yeah, like if I went for an interview, I don't think I could go deeper. Because like my audience cares about like, how are they gonna deal with the world, and stuff like that. But that's definitely not something that he can answer. I don't know what questions I would go for. The question that I would go for, which I was hoping he would ask, is are they actually going for like a full-on MMO? Or are they trying the more modern way of MMOs, which works, which is you go for a really good RPG game that you can play solo as a really good RPG game, but it happens to have some optional multiplayer content. Because that is the modern way you build an MMO. Because after people got used to the fact that you can jump into a freaking Battle Royale and like in 5 minutes you're out again, or same thing in Valorant, if you want, there you can play the quick way, you can get out super quickly. Like games these days are built on the idea that your game session is like 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, League is weird, don't look at League, but most developers are focusing on the fact that you want your games to be 10 to 15 minutes so that people can just go as long as they want, but at any moment they can just get out. And I feel like MMOs should be like that as well. Because right now, the only big problem that MMOs have is that they just eat too much of your time at the same time. If you want to raid, you need to like set apart 3 hours. If you don't have 3 hours, well, you can't play the game. And that's actually the biggest problem of an MMO. Absolutely. I'm not gonna answer your nudier question. Anyway, that was a pretty good video. That was a pretty good